All right, this is the next episode of True Wrestling Fans Discussions. Continuing our retro pay-per-view review series. This is going to be Starrcade 1991. I'm your host, Mike.
I'm Frank. Let's get into it. This was another new concept they had for their big pay-per-view at the end of the year. It was BattleBowl, Lethal Lottery. They would randomize the wrestlers in tag team matches, and the winners would go on to a 20-man over the top rope, onto the floor
Yeah.
battle royal. And I'll get to what I mean by that in a minute. Um, December 29th, 1991, from the Scope in Norfolk, Virginia. Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone. You had Magnum TA, Eric Bischoff, and Missy Hyatt drawing the names. I knew there was a fix in this. So pretty much 40 guys, 20 babyface, 20 heels, sat in the locker room waiting for their names to be picked to go on to this match. Now, like I said, the concept was there was two rings. You have to be thrown not necessarily over both ropes to make it to the other ring, but as long as you were thrown over the ropes
Right.
in the vicinity of the second ring, you were not eliminated yet, but this was your last chance. Once you
Right,
get
yeah.
eliminated from that ring,
Done,
you're
yeah.
out of the thing. Now, once there's one person remaining in the ring in ring one, they would wait until whoever's the winner of ring two, and then they would go at it. So the first drawing was Michael P.S. Hayes and Tracy Smothers, and they would be going up against Marcus Bagwell and Jimmy Garvin. Now, the Freebirds were paired up against each other here, but they were doing more dancing with each other than anything. This is where the concept just was retarded. I'm going to say that because half the time, if your partners weren't beating the crap out of each other, your opponent was saving you. I mean,
Yeah.
this is just where the concept really did not work.
It was a little silly. This is early Marcus Bagwell. This is before American Males.
Yeah, this was
Mhm.
rookie Bagwell,
Yeah.
and he actually did pretty well for himself in this pay per view. When it got time to where Hayes and Garvin were finally arguing with each other and decided that they want to push and beat up each other, Bagwell got them for his team. So now Marcus Bagwell and Jimmy Garvin have moved on to the Battle Royal itself. The next match after that in the picking was Van Hammer and Big Josh paired together, and they would have to face Stunning Steve Austin and Ravishing Rick Rude from the Deadly Alliance.
What a
So
team,
this
man. When you look at it, I mean, he wasn't Stone Cold yet, but I mean,
No,
it's
he was bleach blonde, long
yeah,
haired Steve Austin, the television champion at this time,
yeah, it's
and
kind
the
of
U.S. champion, teaming up with him.
that's kind
You
of
know,
cool to see.
it was. Like I said, I loved going into 1992. I liked the concept of the Deadly Alliance. I thought it was pretty cool. It got guys like Austin, Rude, and Eaton to shine.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it was a missed opportunity too in a lot of ways too, because you could have had Sting and Roode on the same team. That would have been good. Even
Hmm.
because they hate each other, and to have them have to team up would have been interesting.
Exactly. Well, I'll get to Sting and his partner later because that I was actually laughing when this whole thing went down. But in any event, Austin and Rude worked well enough together. Rude did the Rude Awakening on Heavy Metal Van Hammer. They get the victory, so now Austin and Rude have moved on to the Battle Royal. The next pick was the legend Larry Zbyszko and El Gigante, and they would go up against Dustin Rhodes and Richard Morton. And I mean, this match pretty much you can sum it up here. The Bisco and El Gigante couldn't work together. Not only the language gap, but the fact they don't like each other. And obviously, again, the same thing with Morton and Rhodes. But Rhodes and Morton do get the victory. They move on to the Battle Royal.
Yeah, it was forgettable. Forgettable match.
The next one after this was Diamond Dallas Page was paired with the man. As bad as his wrestling career was, he came up with one of the best lines for Jeff Jarrett ever. Mike Graham. And what's that line?
I broke 6,000 guitars, never drew a dime.
Yes.
Yeah, this is DDP's pay-per-view debut.
Yep.
I believe it's his debut.
Yeah. And so he's paired with Mike Graham, and they will face Bill Kazmaier and Jushin Thunder Liger. And this was
Yeah,
actually pretty cool because as big as a guy like Kazmaier was, he threw Liger into Page, and that's how they got their victory. And this one was actually the longest match of the Battle Bowl qualifying. This was over 13 minutes, which I don't
They should
understand
have
what these for.
they should have had Liger and Brian Pillman on separate teams and then have them face off in the ring. That would have been good. That's another
Yeah.
missed opportunity. Imagine them; they could have tore the house down. Those two.
Oh yeah, because
More
they did
opposite.
already when they fought. Because now Liger's the cruiserweight champion, and they'd be facing each other again. I
Yeah,
believe it's Super Bowl
yeah.
coming up. So now Kazmaier and Jushin Thunder Liger are into the Battle Bowl. Moving on to the next matchup, you had Terrence Taylor and the Z-Man paired up with each other against Lex Luger and Arn Anderson. There's a pair. And now this
Horseman.
is the only this is the only thing that I didn't agree with was you have the world heavyweight champion in this and the winner of Battle Bowl, and they didn't really say it for this one. It was more towards the following one, but technically the winner of this did get an opportunity at the WCW title. So my only thinking is why was the WCW champion even in this? But it makes sense when you get to later on. I'll say it right now, Luger is one of the final two in the Battle Royal. So Luger and Anderson do move on. So when Luger had his opponent, it did make sense at that point. But before that, I didn't understand why he was put in this. He should have just, if anything, defend before the Battle Bowl, defend the title.
Right. That would make more sense.
Yeah. Our next match after this, and this was actually funny. I love this. It was Cactus Jack, and he got partnered with Buddy Lee Parker. But the problem was Abdullah the Butcher did not like this. So he beat the crap out of Buddy Lee Parker. Just kept beating him up, throwing his head up against the locker, beating him with that broom he has because he wanted to be out there with his friend. Well, that didn't work out for him. And they would face Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Todd Champion. This match was pretty much a handicap match, but Buddy Lee Parker did make it down to the ring finally, and Cactus got mad, threw him into the ring, and then he winds up getting pinned. And Steamboat and Champion move on to the Battle Royal. But the way Abdullah was acting was just hilarious. And what's funny is even now the next match, you had Brian Pillman and Bobby Eaton paired together, but you had Sting and Abdullah the Butcher now paired. And when
Right, yeah.
Abdullah the Butcher got called, he's like, yeah, and he's doing one of these, and he's going down to the ring real fast, and he's happy that he's paired with Sting. And as soon as he gets there, he beat the crap out of Sting.
So it's
He
attacking.
spent he spent more time in this match beating up Sting or trying to, and Brian Pillman spent more time trying to get Abdullah off of Sting.
Well, he actually Brian Pillman beat him up with the he took the stick that he had,
Yeah,
started beating him with it. You know Brian Pillman doesn't even tag into this match?
no, because Bobby Eaton was like, "I got this," because Sting knew that he couldn't tag in
Oh, what a waste of
because if he tried
opportunity.
to tag Abdullah, and they said, and the commentator said this, Abdullah just wound up beating the hell out of him. So Sting was like, if I'm going to Battle Bowl, I got to do this myself. And Sting does pin Eaton, and so Sting and Abdullah have moved on. But I think it's funny that I can't even trust my partner. You think you would work together in this to get to the Battle Royal, then beat the hell out of each other later.
No.
But this is where the concept just goes a little hanky. So the next match after this now would be Rick Steiner, and they pulled the card for the Diamond Stud. However, he was injured,
Yeah.
so replacing him was the Night Stalker. Yeah, if you need a vomit bucket, dude, I understand for this match. Their opponents would be
But the,
Vader
but you
and
know
Mr. Hughes.
dude, you can't just not tell everybody who the Night Stalker is. That's your boy. You don't remember? That's Adam Bomb.
I know. I was trying to just not mention that right
Yeah.
now, considering this wasn't exactly, a highlight moment for him. I do have I will say who Arachnaman is later.
Oh Jesus.
Yes, Spider-Man 2.0. But in any event, Vader pinned the Night Stalker in this one, and obviously, Vader and Hughes are going to go on to this, mainly Vader. So now they're in Battle Bowl. The next match after that was Johnny B. Bad paired with Arachnaman, who is Brad Armstrong, the brother of the Road Dog.
Mhm.
and who has another brother that would be picked later on that's part of the Young Pistols. And they would face Scott Steiner and Firebreaker Chip. I thought this one would have been better if the Steiners were on opposite sides.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
That would have been another
Yeah.
match that people could have got into because I mean 9,000
Wasting
people,
opportunities, man.
you could hear a pin drop in this place during some of these matches. And especially on this one, and Steiner and Firebreaker Chip win and they move on to the Battle Royal.
Hmm.
Now the last qualifying match, which if these four guys didn't know they were going to be picked because he was the last four guys in the locker room, it was Steve Armstrong and PN News, and they would be against Ron Simmons and Thomas Rich. Oh Lord! And luckily, Simmons took control of this match. He power slammed Armstrong, got the pin, and Simmons and now Rich are into the Battle Royal. So we have our 20 men for the Battle Royal. So they all come out. They all get it announced for this. And again, the concept is you get thrown sort of either in between the rings or you kind of go into the ring. Either way, you're into the next ring where if you're eliminated again, you're out. Now, the first two people to go into that ring were, I believe, was Tommy Rich and I believe Jushin Thunder Liger. I could be wrong. However, Liger was the first one eliminated, period. And there was a lot of times where these guys were just throwing them over the top rope on the other side, and it's like they didn't know, oh, okay, this is not how it's going to work. And, I mean, Vader was just enjoying beating the crap out of people. He was powerbombing people on the stage. He was just having fun with this.
Yeah, Vader was doing this thing. This is early Vader.
Mm-hmm. Following Liger being eliminated completely from the tournament was Richard Morton, Jimmy Garvin as well. He went out. Tommy Rich was now out. Firebreaker Chip, Todd Champion, Abdullah the Butcher eventually went out. And then what's funny is when Cactus gets eliminated, Cactus and Abdullah want to beat the hell out of it. Like Abdullah's beating the hell out of Cactus now. He just wants to fight. It's the only thing I like about this guy. He just wants to fight. In any event, Lex Luger is the sole survivor of Ring 1, obviously, world champion. The final four that it came down to in ring number 2 was Sting, Ricky Steamboat, Stunning Steve Austin, and, of course, Ravishing Rick Rude. And, of course, Sting got his hands finally on Rude in ring 1, but he definitely got his hands on him here in ring 2. Shortly after that, Rude and Austin was the first one to go out after that. Followed by that, it was Rude and Steamboat. So now you're down to Sting and Luger. Sting and Luger going at it for the BattleBowl, and Sting would be your victor here. And now Sting would go on, and he would get the title shot at Super Brawl.
Yeah, because we're just setting that up basically.
Yeah, because they were feuding anyway already for the title. But Sting is your BattleBowl winner of the inaugural one. And
unfortunately, this isn't the last time they do this.
I love how Tony Schiavone had said, "I've never seen anything like this ever," and I'm like, "Oh, come on, dude, seriously?"
Oh, there's a reason why.
I mean, the concept. I like the imagination that they have to put something new together again on their big pay-per-view. The execution and the roster didn't help either.
It's just that shouldn't be a Starrcade. That should be something else. That should be like a Clash of the Champions or something like that. Like
something Wrestle War.
Because you want to, for these big pay-per-views, you want to set up the matches beforehand, have a storyline going into these. You look forward to it. You've been following the story. This is just like
Starrcade should be the culmination of a years-long rivalries, feuds, title matches, and everything.
I mean, I understand they were trying to do something different, but
not on your biggest pay-per-view.
Yeah, I thought this was a stinker.
But then, if you notice, when they had the advertisement for Super Brawl 2, they talking about how football has their Super Bowl, baseball has their World Series. So now you're saying that Super Brawl is your version of WWE's WrestleMania?
It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
Eventually, I think Halloween Havoc basically becomes like their WrestleMania.
Pretty much, because the best matches they had were coming in Halloween Havoc.
Yeah, I don't know. Either way, that's our review for this. I apologize for my energy, people. I have the flu. I'm fighting through it, like Bret Hart fought through it when he fought the Mountie. But
but he lost.
He lost.
But you're still vertical.
Yeah. So all right. Well, you guys let us know what you think. Like, comment, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys soon.
Take care.